Hi and welcome to day 8 of National Diabetes Awareness Month. Every single day this month, I'm doing a vlog about a various topic in diabetes. Today's topic is managing type 1 diabetes at work. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please drop in the chat any other topics you want to see. Today's topic did come from a comment, so I am always willing to make videos about what you guys want to see. I have worked in a few different kind of working formats that have each posed different challenges for diabetes. For example, during my college years, I worked as a yoga instructor. That not only had very weird hours, I was sometimes teaching like 5:30 a.m. classes or 8:30 p.m. classes, but it also posed a challenge because there was this period of time that I was on when I was teaching and I couldn't check my sugar or give myself corrections or really make any kind of changes to my management because I was so focused on teaching the class. I've also worked in retail. Retail posed a lot of challenges because there were such set breaks and lunch times that sometimes I didn't even know that day when I was going to have my break. So that made it really hard to prepare, to know when I was gonna eat, when I should give a pre-bolus. And when I did have a low or high blood sugar, having to come off of the sales floor and into the back room, sometimes it just made me feel weird and I always felt kind of, I don't know, uncomfortable for asking what I needed. That's different now. If I could go back in time, I would absolutely give myself the advice that I'm giving in this video today. However, it just did pose a challenge and it made it difficult to work there. I've also worked in corporate jobs, so in like an office setting. I find the office setting to be pretty easy to manage diabetes. However, just sitting all day can really wreak havoc on blood sugars. So even though I had a desk where I could put low snacks, I could put any kind of supplies that I needed, oftentimes in my office job, I felt myself always trying to fight those high blood sugars because I'm sitting all day or going from meeting to meeting and never had time to move my body or give my corrections. Currently, I work from home. I work for a corporate tech company. I'm a marketing manager. And so I have some of the similar challenges as working in an office job, but fortunately, working from home, I do have a lot more flexibility in what I may need. Now I'm gonna talk about some best practices that I've learned over my working career and all of these various jobs, because even though these job formats are very different, they have really similar principles of how I could set myself up for success. Some of this I'm saying things I wish I should have done, and some of these are principles that I use today in order to help make sure that I feel the best that I can feel at work. Number one is be proactive. For example, I know if I work out early in the morning, I tend to have better blood sugars all day. So doing something like working out and moving my body before I sit all day really helps me. It also really helps me to stay in a routine. So being proactive and kind of having this structure of a routine set up where I'm eating foods that I know how I bolus for about the same time every day can really help make sure that my blood sugars are staying steady during the workday. Going for walks after lunch, drinking lots of water, these are all things that I can do to proactively make sure that my blood sugars are able to stay more in range during the day. Number two is preparing for any situation. Now, in some of these work formats that I was talking about, for example, working retail, this was a little bit harder, but to the best of my ability, I always try to make sure that I'm well prepared in terms of low snacks, insulin, or any kind of backup meter or supplies that I may possibly need during the workday. And not only having those things ready, but having them easily accessible really can make a difference. Sometimes this means working with your manager in order to make exceptions to rules that may be in place, because I do know that some places don't allow you, for example, to have food or juice on like a sales floor. That was one of the rules that we had when I worked in retail, but I was able to talk about it with my manager, explain what I needed and why I needed it to make exception to those rules. I've also had lots of experiences where, for example, let's say my pump happened to expire or run out of insulin during the middle of the day and I didn't have any backups. So I've definitely learned the hard way to always make sure that I do have backups in place if anything goes wrong. For example, always having a meter with me just in case my Dexcom were to stop working. And number three is communication. And I really like to focus on intentional communication with specific people. And what I mean by that is that I tell people very specifically that I think would help my management in knowing that I have diabetes. For example, my manager knows, my CMO knows, he's like our chief marketing officer, the head of our department. And there's some people on my team that I work with very closely that also know. Not only did I pick these people and tell them specifically, but I also was very intentional in the way that I told them about my diabetes. For example, I didn't just say, hey, I have type 1 diabetes, but I actually explained what I may need in different scenarios and how they could best support me. For example, I explained what a high blood sugar is or a low blood sugar is if they didn't know, what I may need to do if that arised, so that if something did come up, for example, during a meeting, even if I'm just working from home, if they know that I shut off my camera and say, be right back in the chat, they probably know that I'm going to fix something with my diabetes. And when they have this information and they feel enrolled in what I have to do for any of these scenarios, I'm able to ask them for help when I need it without having to give my whole story in the moment. So setting myself up for success by communicating with people around me that need to know has really helped me be able to more likely ask for what I need and therefore have better management of my diabetes during the workday. Now, obviously, this is just based on my experience. Fortunately, I've never had any horror stories where managers or people that I work with have given me a hard time about anything around diabetes. I find that as soon as I explain myself, most people are very willing to comply with whatever I need in terms of requests, or for example, if I had to bring a drink out onto the floor but others weren't allowed to have it. However, you always have your endo who can write a doctor's note and help you advocate with your human resources department if there was anything that was ever rejected that prevented you from managing your diabetes. I hope this helps answer your question. If you guys have any additional questions about managing work with type 1 diabetes, be sure to drop them in the comments. I will try to answer them, or if it's something that I can't answer because I haven't worked in every job in the world, hopefully somebody else will be able to answer for you. Thanks, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Come back tomorrow for another video about another topic in type 1 diabetes.